It's not a full series of new Pokemon editions for a new game without a classic reference to the first video from way back in the days. My good old husky Pokemon hopes. Oh, I've missed you. Sword and Shield can have many new additions to Gen 8's roster, and while it might seem like there's only 10 spots to get that total number of Pokemon up to that nice rounded number of 900, what about 950? With 60 new additions being rather unlikely, let's look at just a few new Pokemon to meet that could not only be some desired designs, but also ones that could really create a more fun adventure for people playing the expansions, since it would be a great idea to add in some new, regular Pokemon, so you can have a completely different team of ones yet to be seen that you can catch along the way during the quests and train up that new team like a brand new reset for this adventure. This way, we'd have some non-legendaries or mythicals that can be encountered on the way to those final bosses while boxing all but one of your Pokemon, like your Ash moving to a new region and leaving his friends behind. We chose 5 new Pokemon creations to fill up your team alongside your level 100 starter Pokemon that could make these games more memorable and something to really look forward to when you see these new ones appear. Number 5. A Tasmanian Devil. This type of animal has always been a treat to envision as a real Pokemon. Maybe not exactly like it is in real life, but anyone remember Taz the Tasmanian Devil? A bipedal creature similar to Taz would have a lot of good contrast being transformed into a Pokemon with the demeanor of both Zangoose and Primeape, and possibly the rival to Primeape as well. This could even be a great addition to take on the ground fighting type that is yet to be used. You have a dusty demon fighting around in the dirt and a design that reminds you of the good old days of Ash's rebellious monkey pal. This could be a 2-stage Pokemon where it ends up at its final mid-sized Pokemon form that's rambunctious and tearing through things like the demon of a Pokemon it is. But of course starting off with a common lovable beginning version to get you into liking it before the flurry of arguments begin. While ground fighting does feel like a good fit, there are many types that could really highlight aspects of a Pokemon being shaped into this kind of personality. Normal fighting is one, so there's a standout Pokemon for that typing, and not just a form. Dark fighting as well, since you can have that angered look highlighted, but keeping it as a Generation 8 Primeape relative with the fighting type would really bring something to both the new games and that old, underappreciated Pokemon. It would also be cool to give it an ability similar to Hustle, that increases its attack by even more with how much it wants to fight, or possibly its attack and speed. But instead of a small chance to just miss, it has a small chance to trip up, fall on its face, and damages itself in an angered flurry of its readiness to battle. That would really add more personality to a 2-stage Pokemon and let it be remembered for a long time, even though it might not be more than just a mid-tier powered Pokemon with some good physical attack and speed, and possibly some more focus HP to give it that chunky flavor, but still your typical 450-ish total base stats. You could even make a classic full-on Looney Tunes team. You got Cinderace for Bugs, Golduck for Daffy Duck, Gigantamax and Teleon for Elmer Fudd, Persian for Sylvester, might actually need a Alolan Persian for that one, Grumpig for Porky Pig, and now Taz with our new Tasmanian Pokemon, Temmie and Tempmania. Gotta really highlight its temper tantrums. Number 4. A lifelike Scarecrow. You know, ever since Cacturne and the Scarecrows in Zelda, the feeling for a more lifelike Scarecrow has been somewhat desired in the game. This could be a normal type form for Cacturne, but a typical Scarecrow that's a bit chunkier and well-rounded could be just as good as Cacturne, and a Pokemon that doesn't need to evolve and can just be a standalone Pokemon living in its one spot in the Pokedex is someone you see pop up in the overworld, but doesn't actually move, chase you, or even get into a battle without you clicking on it, or bump into it while it's popping up in a spot like you just pressed the same 2 alternating buttons on your ocarina. It could even have that animation, sprouting from the ground when you send it out into battle, and have an ability that scares the opponents, making them confused upon encounter like a status-inflicting Intimidate. This could be more of a status wall-like Pokemon, because if you're attacking a Scarecrow in real life, it's not really the Scarecrow losing there. So a focus on status impalements and moves to really help out the team and protect them could do wonders for a Pokemon like this. As a Scarecrow, you gotta protect your crops. Maybe you could have 0 speed with that stick just stuck in the ground, and would have to hop very slowly if we did have Pokemon following you from behind. Its type would have to be normal. It just seems like a perfect addition to normal types that's a change in how they look and a nice present to give to the group. But like everything, it could be possessed by a ghost and become a spirited Scarecrow with the unused normal ghost type. It has scare in its name, some people are afraid of ghosts. This could also be a very fitting Pokemon for Fire Normal if you just set it on fire for some reason. But as a counter to the birds in this region, with Corvus Squire turning into a Steel Flying with Corviknight, The counter of a fire normal Scarecrow to scare off the birds and protect all the wheat they have growing there would be a very fitting thing for Galar. This would just be a great Pokemon to have as a silly one to pop up and literally pop up everywhere that might even have some different forms as character customization looks and purely for aesthetics rather than any change in stats. Although a Pokemon in one Pokedex slot with 5 different looks, stats, or abilities to choose from would be a great type of DLC Pokemon. Number 3. A computer Pokemon. You know Plankton's wife? Put her in. Having a sort of robotic computer Pokemon that just looks like a regular computer setup, or even a bit more of a standard robot, could really bring about a new unique Pokemon. All the TMs are CDs too. What if it was a solo Pokemon that doesn't evolve, but could upgrade with TMs and TRs? Changing types might be a little too similar to Silvally with its memory discs, even though we really could utilize those RGB lights and base the color of the computer off the TM you gave it. Just move around the hue and saturation and that's 18 new designs. What it could do is be a steel electric type, and its ability would make whatever moves it learns from any disc you're able to give it be upgraded to have a bit more damage or a higher chance on the ability of the move, like it's its own mini torrented Dynamax move without actually Dynamaxing. We got one computer Pokemon you all start illegally downloading immediately. Disappointed. And I know this is one of those inanimate object Pokemon, so it'll be a bit more controversial and spark up some over-the-top comments, so let me just get out all the vibes and list off different ways this Pokemon could form itself, or how it could be in the game with or without evolutions. It's a computer chip, but you connect to the internet and download some mystery-gifted RAM and battle against steel Pokemon to create a desktop and monitor. It starts off as a mouse, evolves into a keyboard, turns into a full setup. It's a bunch of creepypasta data pixels that evolve by haunting an old monitor after you've read them all the way through. You download a sketchy link while checking your Rotom phone, get a virus, and that turns into a usable bug electric Rotom computer form. It's Karen in mobile form that evolves into her stationary form. You leave your regular Rotom in the PC for too long, it walks over to you possessing the PC, and now it's a usable steel electric. It's a simple computer from the Pokemon Center in Gen 1. That's it, that's a new Pokemon. The stats for this type of Pokemon could be focused more on special attack for its cybernetic powers, speed that is high but gets slower the longer the battle goes on, and HP because that's the stat that gives you enough space to make mistakes in battles and on your 1TB hard drive. It would also be a cool trait for a Pokemon like this to actually upgrade parts of it depending on which stats you train up with EVs or be able to tell which IVs it has based on its look like hardware specs. But that's probably something to be downloaded in a different expansion pass, and we can stick to a simple PC setup for this one. Number 2, a Dust Demon. You know, I always pick out these ideas before looking anything up, and I thought of the design before looking for what Taz's name was in the previous section, and have now seen and remembered that he turns into a tornado. Which is what this section's Pokemon is about if we just pick Taz out of the tornado and give that, and myself, a personality. But an elemental type of Pokemon like a Dust Demon seems like such a great addition. It could also just be a tornado with a face that's pure flying, wouldn't have to evolve, and can stand by its lonesome as one of those terrifying Pokemon that towers over the rest in the decks and has that standout vibe like the almost legendary Pokemon. But a Dust Tornado works as well, similar to those hollow human looking sand creatures that appear in films, but more focused on elements than being humanoid. Even a Dust Devil could really fit the bill for a less human, but more wind current Pokemon, which is actually another almost reference to Taz and his tornado. But having a ground flying type that, instead of being a towering terror, could be a mini, cute, little brother to the genies that doesn't evolve, could be a great little family lineage. And who doesn't want another Landorus for competitive battles? This type of Pokemon could actually fit in as another weather-changing Pokemon, so it'll have his own version of Therian forms and be all the types they are with a few extra to match every condition, similar to Castform, but with even more for sandstorms, snow, thunderstorms, and heavy fog where it turns into a poison flying because that's not really fog, that's pollution. Windy Boy here can be a special attacker to match the move Hurricane, with some physical defense, as attacking wind might be easier with special attacks, and a good amount of HP to make it that heavy force it can be. It can also just have almost exactly the same stat spread as whichever genie type it turns into, but with a 15 drop in every stat to get to a total base of 510 or 490 because Landorus steps in and adds more to its stats because being away from the other two in the Pokedex isn't enough to differentiate. Number 1. Ghost Rider. Really, I mean a skeleton Pokemon? But Ghost Rider has that eerie personality and a great design that could be twisted to be a sillier Pokemon and be more inviting. I could have also said Skeletor, but maybe just Skeletor's head and not the whole body. It could start off as a floating skull, similar to Ghastly, but with a solo ghost type, and turns into a full-bodied skeleton in one go. It could also be a fire ghost for Ghost Rider's head, or electric ghost for Summon Skull's head. The ghost typing is very fitting for anything that's basically dead, like a skeleton, but it's mostly fitting for Nicolas Cage's career. This type of Pokemon could be more of a spirit, with added parts of a skeleton. We do have Cubone, who's a great Pokemon, but for this we'd have a more human look rather than an animal, but could actually be a reference to the Marowak line. A cute little warrior skeleton does seem like a Pokemon that could be included and appreciated, but that ghostly spirit from only a floating skull into another floating skull, but with floating body parts, might be the popular pick. Every step of the way we get closer to Paper Mario. And because I know someone's gonna comment about this, a Skull Dragon definitely seems like a desired Pokemon. Clearly this human skeleton's ability has to increase its defense and special defense if you've restored it to full HP outside of battle with some Moo Moo Milk, or maxed out its special attack with calcium. So for its stats, we'll make it a special attacker with maybe only decent defense and special defense, so you can add those two items to this Pokemon's brittle bones and get those gains with its ability. With those being the focus stats, it might have just average speed, but lower HP. It's a skeleton. Usually people say you're just skin and bones, but it's a skeleton. It doesn't even have skin, it's just bones. It's very unhealthy. Summon Skull and Ghost Rider both have some good attributes to implement into the design, and both elemental types, with electric and fire added in, would make a surprising skeleton Pokemon. While I don't think they'll make a full-bodied human-looking skeleton for a Pokemon that's just walking on the ground like a RuneScape skeleton with a purple aura around it, or Ghost Rider's entire being, and it would have to be more of a spirit-floating ghost with some bone structure to make a skeleton, I also don't think they'll actually ever make another movie like Face Off, and that's the real disappointment here.